Hello, in this lesson, I would like to talk about factoring quadratic functions for in any situation, right? For real factors. For complex factors, we're not going to need it for a long time, okay? For calculus 1, 2, and 3, you're going to be using real factors only. So for complex factors will not be but we're going to identify when it is going to have, we're going to have complex factors and when we're going to have real factors, okay? The general formula is actually very simple, okay? Quadratic function like this can always be factored. And what will be the factor look like? The factor will look like A, okay, the same A we have here, multiply x minus x sub 1 multiply x minus x sub 2. According to fundamental theorem of algebra, we can always get something like this. However, what is x1, what is x2? X sub 1, okay, and x sub 2 are solutions to quadratic equation equals to 0. Okay, so in other words, if we set it equal to 0, then we use quadratic formula. So x1, x2 can also be found by using quadratic formula, which is going to be 2a in the denominator, negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so that is the entire factoring scheme that you can always use. I will always give you the factors. And of course, there's a plus will give you x1 and minus will give you x2, right? So if you want to know what x1 is, it's up to you. You can choose either way. So x1 would be minus b. You choose plus minus, you choose the -1. And x sub 2, you're going to be using the other one, which is plus. And there you go, you got it. So let's test drive it. Okay? Take the first example we did before, right? Here, example number 1. Right, we had done this before, and we factored using the other way, right? If we consider this as a function, if we consider this as a quadratic function, and we know the factors will exist, the factors will be a multiply x1, x minus x1 times x minus x2, right? So a equals to 1, therefore we can remove it. So all we have to do is to find the solution to this quadratic equation. So x1, x2 are solutions to the equation. The equation we have here is x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And then all we have to do is just plug in the quadratic formula. What I do recommend when you're doing a question like this, you would do the b squared minus 4ac first. If this number, okay, we call it discriminant. If this number is positive or 0, okay, then you will find the factors. Okay, so go ahead and find x sub 1 and x sub 2. Okay, and what if the discriminant is less than 0? If the discriminant is less than 0, then this tells us that x1, x2 are going to be these two numbers are complex numbers. So depends on your situation. In our current course, if these are complex numbers, and that means we got two complex factors. Okay, and then in this case, in many cases in your calculus classes, we're not going to be using those complex factors. So you don't have, you can call it prime. Okay, those are the cases that it may be called prime. Depends on, you know, the context, depends on the context. So in our case, we have b squared minus 4ac, and obviously this case, in this case, is going to be greater than 0. Okay, so I should put these over here. I should put it over here. Okay, in this example, b squared, right? B is -5 minus 4 times A is 1, C is 6. Okay, and 25 minus 24 equals to 1. Right? And there we go. We got our, you know, solutions. B is -5. A is +1. And b squared minus 4ac, this is 1. The square root of 1 is 1, right? So we got 5 plus minus 1 divided by 2. Okay, so we got our x sub 1. X sub 1 is going to be equals to 5 minus 1 divided by 2. That's going to be equals to 2. And x sub 2, excuse me, would be equals to 5 plus 1 divided by 2. That's going to be 3. So we got our factors right there. Okay, so we got our factors right here. So this is going to be 2, and that's going to be 3. You can see that's how we're going to use it, right? We can see in this case, you can use either way to factor, and there might be a third way to factor, right? But you really just need to find the factors. The easiest way, the possible, the better, right? The quickest way is a better way for you, okay? Let's look at another situation. Let's look at another situation. Say we can look at this question, right? Example number 2. Okay, we're factoring this piece. Okay, we're going to factor. Now we know that we can factor with the other way, but if we use the current method, right, discriminant. First, we're going to check the discriminant. If it's a positive or 0, we just go ahead and factor, right? B is -1. A is 2. C is -1. So we get 1 plus 8 equals to 9. Okay, and then we're going to bring that to the quadratic formula, right? 9 is greater than 0, so we know that we're going to have 2 real factors. B is -1, so B is replaced by -1. B is replaced, what, b squared minus 4ac is already done, so we just put 9 there. A is 2. Okay, and now we got 1 plus minus 3 divided by 4, right? And we're about to get 2 roots. So x sub 1 equals to 1 minus 3 over 4. 1 minus 3 over 4, that's going to be -½ -2 over 4, that's -½ x sub 2 equals to 1 plus over 4. Okay, that equals to 1. And our factors will be a, which is 2, times, right here, x times x minus x1. So x sub 1 is negative half. So we're going to put in negative half. And x sub 2 equals to 1. Okay, you just have to organize your term a little bit. And here you're going to get x plus half. Okay, because minus negative, and that's going to make a positive. Okay, and what else can you do? You may like to get rid, because now you can see 2 times half, that makes 1. So I'm going to bring the 2. Okay, I'm going to bring the 2 inside the parentheses, and I'm distributing the 2. Okay, multiply 2 and multiply 2 with half. And that way you will get factors that looks, nicer without the fractions. Of course, fraction is not a big deal. We can handle fractions, but just in this case, you can get rid of the fractions. And so that's the factorization. Let's look at another situation. Example number 3. Okay, suppose I want to factor x squared minus 2x minus 1. This is pretty difficult to factor. Okay, if you can use the previous technique to factor, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So we're going to apply, this technique, right? So discriminant equals to b squared minus 4ac. So we get negative 2 squared minus 4 times a is 1, c is negative 1. So we got c is negative 1 over there. Okay, so what do we get here? We get 4 plus 4. That's 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 equals to 8. 8 is not a perfect square, but 8 is positive, right? So we do have, so there are 2 real factors. There's 2 real factors. What are they? Of course, we know what they are. We're already told, right? So these 2 factors are going to be like this, right? So we will have our factors that's going to be like this. Okay, a equals to 1. So 1 is omitted. X1 to be found, X2 to be found. And D is already found, right? So we're just going to use a quadratic formula. Just plug in. Okay, B is negative 2. Negative 2. Plus minus, okay, plus minus b squared minus 4ac, that's 8. A is 1. And there we go. Negative minus negative 2 is a positive 2. Plus minus root 8 is equal to 4 times 2. Okay, denominator is 2. Keep going. Okay, root 4 is 2. Therefore, we can take 2 out of, the radical. And we have 2 here, 2 here, and we have a 2 in the denominator. So we can factor the 2 out of the parentheses. So we get a 1 plus the square root of 2. Wait, we have a plus minus. Yeah, we have a plus minus. Sorry, there's a plus minus here. and the denominator is 2. So this 2 and the other 2 will be reduced. So in the end, we got these x1, x2. Okay, so x sub 1 is going to be equals to 1 minus root 2, right? X sub 2 is going to be 1 plus root 2. And so what are our factors? Well, our factors is coming right away. Okay, all we have to do is replace x1. Okay, to make it clear, I'm going to change parentheses to bracket. Okay, change parentheses to bracket. So x sub 1 will be replaced by 1 minus root 2. Be patient with yourself, okay? Be patient with ourselves. And x sub 2 is going to be 1 plus root 2. Okay, and we organize the term a little bit. We got factors, don't we? We got the factors. Inside the brackets, okay, 1 x minus 1 plus root 2. So this is going to be plus, and x minus 1 minus root 2. There we go. We got the two factors. Okay. So now if you want to get rid of the bracket and use parentheses, that's totally okay. But you can also keep the bracket. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's just for clarity. Either way it's okay. All right. You can see that this procedure allows us to find quadratic factors in any circumstances, even for complex number, okay? It's just in case you need a complex number of factors, and you can also find it. But here, I'm not going to go over those examples because I don't want to make this recording too long. And I hope this helps. And thank you for watching.